mess with my nerves a tad. So, alright. Hello, this is LRock617. Here we have Batman Returns for the SNES. Going to be run on the Mania difficulty, which is the hardest difficulty. As you can see us cycling through it. It goes from easy all the way up to the Mania difficulty. This is actually not a particularly popular category for this game, but I wanted to make sure it could be showcased as a run just to prove that this game is tackleable even at its most difficult. No need to increase lives. We can actually get life increases with additional points. Every 50,000 points is an additional life. We'll go ahead and get started here at the very beginning of the game. Skip our first cutscene. There's quite a few things we're going to talk about here with this game. First of all, this is one of my favorite beat-em-ups ever. Features Batman at what someone once described to me as his absolute angriest. I'm just going around beating up a bunch of clowns. As you can see, we're also utilizing an infinite here that's done through canceling your string. For this game, Konami decided to implement a block button. It allows you to do upwards of 3 hits on your string and then cancel it just by mashing block. These are the shoulder buttons. Get those guys down. Motorcycles will be taken down with a batarang. We use there. For this difficulty, we don't use batarangs a whole lot on standard enemies. They normally cause containment, as in the enemies get frozen. That was unfortunate. A little bit bad on the movement there, but still not a huge deal. Take those guys out. You're going to be seeing a lot of that, just because, you know, to beat them up, you don't want to really knock down enemies unless they're dead. So you're going to be seeing a lot of utilization of things like this. That was just make sure that guy got away from me. Short-term stun there. That was cute. Punch the missile right back into his face for flavor. Moving on here to the second screen, we're going to have this guy. Grab him, 2 headbutts and a throw into the window. Great sound design there. Drop a test tube. Test tubes are items that you get a limited amount of use of. You're only supposed to get 3 per level, but some levels actually let you gain additional test tubes. But it clears the whole screen of enemies. It's really useful when it needs to be. Flash room, we're going to go ahead and zip line over to take care of this mailbox. That actually causes the guy on the bottom right to spawn, otherwise you don't get him. Do an extra joy to take out both the motorcycles, and that'll take us on to our next section. This is actually the first section of the game that's not a beat 'em up. All you do is move left and right. You can't move up and down like in an arcade style. So you're going to move directly to the right like so. Cool thing is you don't have to interact with anything. Just move right and everything misses you. Fun thing to find out that one was. Our only form of offense here also is batarangs, in addition to test tubes, of course. So for this first boss, we actually have a cinematic moment where we get to pull the wall in the back of his head. Take him out with a certain number of batarangs, followed by a test tube. And that's the first fight. It's actually, after you drop the wall into the back of his head, it's 15 hits, and then the test tube. Got pretty lucky getting 13 before he did the final jump. That's not common. The second stage, this is actually the longest stage in the game. Divided into 3 sections that all are fairly lengthy. We're going to take out these mailboxes. Something important to keep in mind for mailbox sections. Didn't mean to throw that guy, but that's not a huge deal. That guy's playing all kinds of defense. So for mailbox sections, as I was getting ready to say, destroying mailboxes is actually a big deal for making sure enemies get to spawn. Mailboxes count as a sprite on the screen. So if a mailbox is on the screen, you will generally want to get rid of it to ensure that an enemy will spawn correctly. Otherwise, you won't get to kill them as quickly. They won't appear. I didn't want to do that. Thought I canceled it. Not a big deal, though. So here we have a quick section where we're going to use our first test tube. Big reason being because this big guy spawning on the right has entirely too much health. So we just take him out with 1 hit, because why not? Fastest way to deal with him for sure. Got one more guy that's spawning here on the left. Most of what you're going to see through here, in addition to the great music, is just more punching. Grab this guy, slam him into the barricade for a great sound. These knife guys you'll see a bit more later, and they're actually some of the more annoying enemies in the game. Ah, didn't catch him. Those guys cartwheel first before you can reach them. They can get knocked down and you miss the loop. It's not a huge deal though. Make sure to take care of that guy. An easy way you normally do is you grab the guy and walk him over to the bomb. In Mania you don't have that luxury because, I mean, you can do it, but it doesn't do enough damage. Tried to slam that guy into him, but if I waited any longer, he was going to drop. Not a huge deal. We'll move this guy over here for a grouping. Good stuff. Bring him up here for another grouping. We'll move us on to the next section. This is another side-scrolling room where we actually get to see some of our first legit damage boosts. Up the escalator, we're going to hit this guy. Take a damage boost to this guy so this guy doesn't touch us. This one we can't damage boost through, sadly, because he knocks us to the left, whereas the other guy knocked us right. Good timing there on those battering hits. It's always best to make sure you can hit them as many times as you can before they touch you. They only take 2 hits to kill, but missing even one shot costs you quite a bit of time because they hit you and you fall, and you have to recover, and you lose a couple seconds. No reason to let that happen if you can avoid it. Just all execution, though. There's nothing random about it. For our next damage boost, we're going to torch through all this stuff. It's best to avoid these falling bars of lumber here that are on fire. They do a lot of damage, and there's really no adequate damage boost available for them. So take us down to the next floor. You can just wait there underneath the torches that are falling and not even get hit. Moving on here. Hit this guy with a batarang. Wow, this guy's going to be a tool, huh? They do that sometimes. Intercepted the batarang with a grenade. Other way around, intercepted the rocket with a batarang. They got that guy. Here's another test tube section we're going to have. These bigger clowns just have way too much health. That's unfortunate. Took a little bit too much damage in the earlier room, so we took a death there. Not a huge deal, though. We'll take out that guy and then drop a test tube. The reason we do that is because there's always this one last guy that's going to spawn. You can't wait that guy out to test tube him, sadly. Too many Y hits there. Should have been a cancel. Mistakes happen. Man, they were playing all kinds of defense today. Sometimes they let themselves get vortexed in and stuff like that, which is great. Play a little bit of defense there. So for these guys, we're actually going to smash them together and despawn the other guy that got hit to the left. As you can see, he doesn't come back. It's completely gone forever. Just going to block this, so I'm not concerned with it. That was peculiar. Normally it doesn't do that to separate them. Moving on to our last section here, we have a Mr. Strongman reading the newspaper. Gonna take out those clowns. Why he doesn't get hit by that test tube, I don't know. We're gonna move on to what actually got me to speedrunning. Was being able to just do this. You shorten the punch cancel from 3 punches to 1, and this just lets you infinite bosses. Not all bosses, as you saw from the first stage with the stun gun, but with that guy, yeah, just punch him in the chest a bunch of times and he's down. Pretty good stuff. Move us into our next stage. The stage is actually fairly humdrum for the most part in terms of being an actual stage, but there are some really funny things we can do. Might even say they're silly. So for this first area, we've got this scaffold that we're going to be chilling on. Again, it's a side-scrolling stage, so we can do things we couldn't do to beat him up, like duck, throw projectiles. So here's the thing. We're going to have this fat clown take a swing at us, move right past him, and he's just going to jump off rather than deal with Batman. We're just going to let them keep going. They're basically going to be lemmings at this point. It's pretty awesome. Just jump to their doom. Take out that last one just because he's the last one. If we let him despawn himself, it just takes longer than just knocking him off. So there's no reason to do it. Similar section here. Just going to have more clowns that spawn. We can just duck here and let them do what they're going to do. We're going to jump to their doom again. This guy's going to keep swinging at us, so what we're going to do is we're going to walk over to him and let him be his own undoing. That one's actually my favorite. That guy really didn't want to deal with Batman. Missed the double shot, but that's okay. We don't lose time for that. Into this section here. One of the only real platforming sections of the game. us over here. Get some more use of the grappling hook. Very bad at commando, don't you think? Move up through here. That guy's random. We don't want him to spawn. Yeah, taking a hit there. We kind of messed up the manipulation, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Fortunately, we took that hit, though. For here, there's actually a bit of manipulation going on where we're going to crouch here. Any enemies that come down, you can fight. I generally tend to just to make it scroll through enemies faster. We're going to ignore that tall clown there on the left for a little while. Now our Q here is going to be when these bombs drop here. We got 2 more enemies. Uncommon to get a green and a purple one. You usually get 2 green ones. We're going to let this last tall guy spawn, drop a test tube. Now what would have happened if we got 2 green ones is that tall guy wouldn't have spawned. We could have just dropped the bomb and just killed everybody on screen. Hey drum, thank you. It'll take us right into the end section. We're our boss of this stage. Certainly notorious for being one of the hardest bosses in the game. The other boss you can punch infinite to death, this being the first Catwoman. We'll see if we can get it. Good stuff. That's a very, very difficult one to land because if she gets out of that, she gets to abuse iframes and do cartwheels, and you can't hit her with anything but a test tube. It's really aggravating to deal with. So luckily, we actually managed to get all that in once. Good stuff. On to probably the most random stage of the game, stage 4. This first room in particular with the blue hallway has these enemies that spawn at intervals that you can control. You can actually fix the number of enemies that you see here. You can see as few as 2. You can have as many as 7 or 8. Just depends on how quickly you want to kill them. Wow, that actually happened. What you're supposed to do is make sure that you can do it, get rid of everybody before that music cue. It's going to be the same thing here, but we have more difficult enemies here to deal with. Particularly those guys that fall and can sit on you. Because when they fall, they have a hitbox. So it's ideal to make sure that they just don't touch you. Managed to get through that pretty well. See what I mean? Wait for him to get in before he did anything. Okay. Decent section there. More random than what I liked it to be, but that's the case with any time. Hit that guy on incoming. Anytime he has... That's a unique enemy for sure. Anytime they have the sword swallow, they can be hit by a batarang. Otherwise, they just block them. This section, we're going to test tube those guys. Those guys all have a ton of health. That guy doesn't have hardly any health, so we're just going to take him out standardly. Take out these guys in their test tube. One other guy with little health. Finish him there. Make sure all these guys can get looped in. Now for a particularly tricky setup, we're going to slam all those guys into the wall. With that setup there, that's going to move us on to our next room. Alright, Catwoman 2. Significantly easier than Catwoman 1. She has most of the same moveset, but she can't game iframes at all. So making sure you maintain the punch loop on her is actually significantly easier. You can even go slower with it if you want, just for more consistency. Just making sure I can get it in as fast as I can. When it gets down to the W, we're going to go to our next sequence, throw her to the left. Reason we do that is because if we throw her to the right, you see how she walks to the Ice Queen, the Ice Princess there? If she walks from the right, she moves a lot slower. From the left, she moves at the same speed, but she's a lot closer, so it doesn't take as much time. On to who I believe is actually the hardest boss in the game, First Penguin. It's another side-scrolling stage. Only hit him with batarangs, and the one test tube we have left. That was actually a mistake. This fight's really hard. There's a lot of volleying going on, particularly because he has these umbrellas that he just throws on the ground that can explode. This is actually pretty lucky we managed to get behind him. He's going to throw these umbrellas, which are more annoying than hazardous. The real danger is getting hit by him. Penguin himself touches you. It's essentially as bad as the alien hitting you in Mega Man 2. Very much an alien hug. Hopefully we can do this without getting hit again. One more test tube. Deal the rest of the damage. Okay, we're going to try and trigger a cutscene here by standing far to the left as we can. Now, Batman's going to walk into this cutscene. By doing that, it didn't allow it to happen. Going to throw that there. If we'd been anywhere in the middle, we would have had to walk over there to get that, so that's why I moved over to the left slightly. Making sure he's on the right for the same purpose. Then move on to a stage that a lot of people don't particularly care for. It's a very pretty stage, I'll give it that. It's entirely mode 7. It's an auto-scroller of a driving stage. You really don't have any control over how fast the car goes. It just goes a million miles an hour like it's going now at all times. Unless you get hit, which causes a slight slowdown, but nothing significant. The only real offensive options here, even though it says you have 3 test tubes, are these discs that you can shoot out of the front of the Batmobile. For the case of most enemies in this stage, trying to actually defeat them is pretty irrelevant because they just generally have so much health. Even these guys only take so much damage from a disc and are going to be able to outlast what you're trying to do to them. Yeah, it collided into me too. The other big goal through here is to just not take that much damage. The boss fight is a bit of a firefight, so the more health you can go into it with, the better off you are. These guys have the most health of any non-boss enemy in the entire game. I think what I was saying there. The best strat here is just dodge rockets as much as you can. Move to the center, move to the right to dodge them, and you're good. Collect those things for points. Again, 50,000 points is an extra life, so why not? Never hurts to have more lives, right? Take out these guys here. Move them past you. These guys you can generally swerve left or right to be able to avoid all they're going to do. For the sections of guys that are driving at you like this, you can just stay right in the center and they won't hit you. Best thing to do, because then you don't get hit and you don't lose time. When you get hit, you also can't fire, which is only significant on the boss fight, but it's worthy to note that. Alright, we actually have a little bit less health than I would like to have. And I'll actually probably perform, well, see what happens here. So we have the appropriately titled Campaign Van, which is just the best name ever. He's going to have more of the same attacks. He shoots a lot of rockets like the guys previous did. These, however, are really hard to avoid because they have a lot of homing capability. I actually don't know what he hit us with there, to be perfectly honest with you. But he tagged us with something. I keep volleying shots into them. Didn't really want to get hit there, but that's okay. Got him down to a little bit of health, though, so again, goal here, just don't get hit. It's generally best to not get hit before hitting him. That's what you should prioritize, is just don't get tagged. Still a solid stage. That'll take us on to the ending where we glide to the center of the screen. Move us on to the last 2 stages. Both fairly difficult. Not necessarily for the same reasons. For the train, which, I'll be honest, I don't even remember from the movie. I'm sure it was there. Don't hurt me for not remembering. We're going to glide this guy over here. These guys have too much health, so we're just going to test tube them. We're going to grab this guy, headbutt him once. That wasn't supposed to happen, but that's okay. That was actually pretty decent luck. Those knife guys are incredibly degenerate. They will most of the time end up getting out of hit range. Kind of like what that guy was doing there. He plays the zoning card very, very well. Just likes to chill out inside the hitbox of his buddies and you just can't reach him. For here, this one tends to give people fits because of the oncoming explosives that come in from the background. While those are annoying, there's actually a way around them. Didn't mean to hit that guy that last time. You hang out on the very top row of the screen of the stage, won't even touch you. Pretty useful. Drop that because I just didn't want to deal with it. Luckily, we don't have any more explosives to deal with. Have our first fire clown on the stage here. These guys tend to be a bit of a hazard. They can attack you really, really quickly and in multiple different ways. Take that guy out that way. Here's another tricky section. We've got these bars that come up and will collide with us, but luckily they also collide with enemies. We choke slam through that just to get iframes. It's really useful to get there. But that guy wasn't having it. Those guys are really hard to deal with because they, one, they just get to ignore batarangs basically completely. Like you just saw that guy didn't get stunned by one at all, whereas some get stunned even a little bit. And the other thing is they can jump those bars, as you saw. They also have a lot of health, which is not fun to deal with. Take out this guy. We got one more test tube. Take out the last 3. There was a guy spawning on screen. You didn't see him because he was already dead, but we'll zip right to the end of the train here. onto our boss. It's gonna be another infinite boss. His only real discernment is that he has flunkies that come with him. But as long as you stay right in this sweet spot, they'll all get vortexed in with the hits as well. Actually, just can't show that. What's up, Gamer Junkie? How are you doing? Sure thing, Trojan. Thank you and good luck. Alright, had a good boss fight there. No real complaints there. We kept the loop, kept it active. It's really strong. Alright, last stage. We're essentially going to get more of what we got in the train. It's just going to be even harder because there's just a lot more to have to deal with. Hit that guy. Best thing you can do there is just make sure you take those out. Didn't mean to drop that guy. Let's see. This is the kind of stuff we're going to have to deal with in this level. Lots of everything everywhere. Take out that guy. And batarangs are really only at their best here for taking out these motorcycles. We're going to use those a lot here. I think we tuck over here to get the last one. There's actually a trick where you can despawn that guy, and it looks like it worked. Discovered that not long ago. You can, there was another fire clown that was incoming, but if you knock the bike into him and it knocks him far enough away, it actually just completely despawns him, and that's what happened there. Didn't get to see him because nobody knew he was there. Sucks we got comboed there, but man, these guys just are not having it. Welcome to Mania, everybody. So here we have the real hazard of this section. We're probably going to take at least a death or two here. These rockets are a real problem. On Mania, they have homing capability. Like, they will just zoom right in on you, and there's really not a lot you can do. The best options are to find ways to obtain iframes, either through choke slams, extra joys, whatever you can do. We're actually going to intentionally take a death here, because there's no way we can survive that. I had no health. This will also give us iframes with which to fight these guys at the start. This is actually a really tough section just because of the kind of enemies that are involved. Fire clowns and bat guys, they can do jumps. So let that guy still keep trying to poke me over there. Noggin knockers are huge here. It's actually a move I didn't talk about enough. It's a really good move for hitting two enemies at once because it does a lot of damage. It does about 24, which is about the same as 4 punches. Wasn't having it. Okay, let go of that guy by mistake. We're actually going to block here. Do some extra joys to avoid these missiles. Extra joys do cost health when you hit somebody with them, just as like they would in a game like Final Fight. He interrupted that. Interesting. But if they whiff, they don't deal any damage to you, so that's useful. One more guy. Wow, he wasn't having that either. Okay. Only goal there is to take out one enemy. Move on into here. Yeah, the enemies in Mania have really ridiculous reflexes. Like, they can react to anything you do, and they read inputs like crazy, and just gotta make sure you can touch them before they touch you. So from here, we're just gonna use all of our test tubes, just bomb the heck out of the place, and move on to our last two bosses. First boss is the duck boss. We all know Rubber Ducky's the one. It's another batarang fight, your only form of offense. Got the rare pattern where he didn't despawn. Good fight though. Managed to take him out there. This moves on to our final boss. This is the penguin. Hopefully I'll be able to punch him once and kill him, but we'll see what happens. It's like with the others. Just don't drop it. Ah, dropped it. Hit block one too many times, it happens. So we'll be able to re-loop it, this is fine. It's not good, obviously, but it's not the worst thing ever either. That could be unfortunate. So, as I was explaining with Catwoman earlier, much like what Penguin does here, he can, if he gets out of that, he just gets to go invincible. He essentially gets to do whatever the heck he wants, as you saw there. You can't even do grab release infinites on him like you can with some bosses. Finish him off from there. Unfortunately, we didn't get it, but we at least managed to finish it. Not huge hazards, but it's what it is. Bring us in with a sub 25 time, pretty great. So yeah, about this game, been a fan of it ever since I was a kid. I was a huge Konami fan, mostly because of all their entries for the TMNT franchise. Why they decided to go with a Final Fight style for a beat 'em up has always been a mystery to me, but I think it worked out pretty well. It has more of the same techniques you see with stuff like that as opposed to what they did with games like Simpsons and Metamorphic Force. You actually get grab combos, you can do infinites like you can do in Final Fight. Just have a lot of options of being able to take care of enemies, and it's really, really fun to be able to pull all that kind of stuff off. As I always refer to it as touch of death enemies, it's just fun to do, you know? Like, as long as you can consistently do it. It's really fun to be able to do. So, that'll bring us to the end of our quest. We get a cool little ending where the penguin just kind of went down the elevator in the back. Ugh, such a fun game. It has great music. Adapts itself really, really well from the movie. I think this game overachieved quite a bit, especially for the amount of space it's on. It's only like a 3 meg game. Oh, thanks for the GG, Kyle. Yeah, overall, not a bad run. Trying to think of what else I can say about this game. Being able to consistently do that string on enemies is crucial for being able to save time. Essentially because it's always just 100% of their health, and they die extremely quickly, as long as you're consistent with it, of course. It's a great speed game. It was one of the first speed games I learned. Not many beat-em-ups can make that claim, but this one actually has some really cool stuff. Barring any major skips, unfortunately there's not anything like that going on here, but as long as you got the technique down, and you know how the manipulation works, this game is 100% workable for sure. Pretty great stuff to see there. Not sure, I'm trying to think of how I learned it. I believe I learned the existence of it from someone on YouTube, but still, awesome game. One of my favorite games to run. One of my favorite games to show people, just because of all the silly stuff that goes on in it. Hope you all enjoyed it. I'm going to go ahead and see you all in the next run. Thanks so much for watching.